ways to market your business before you ever had the money and a budget.
For those I haven't met, my name is Lindsay. I'm on the product marketing team here at Cast Iron, and I'm super excited to be hosting this panel along with my three panelists. As a quick introduction, Amanda McMonigle is the owner of Whimsical Cookies in Southern Indiana. She uses cast iron and actually started her business on cast iron, so we know her very dearly. Lisa Gaub is the owner of Lisa Faye Bakes in Pennsylvania, and she was actually our very first customer or second customer on cast iron and has been with us through all the ups and downs over the past few years. And then I'm pleased to introduce Deb Cantrell, a no BS culinary business coach who shows food entrepreneurs how to go from behind the stove to their own CEO. Well, I already did a little quick introduction, but I would like to turn it over to you all to just give a quick 60-second overview of your background. How did you stumble your way into the food business? So whoever wants to start.
I'll go ahead and start.
Awesome.
So you said we have how many minutes?
About 25 if we're going to do Q&A.
Oh, no, per person, so I don't go
per person, 60 seconds, yep.
Okay. I started out as a physical therapist over 21 years ago, realized that food, in my opinion, healed people so much more than the actual physical therapy I was doing. Went to culinary school, became a nutritionist, so on and so forth. And what happened is I thought that I would cook for a few people. I don't bake, I don't own measuring cups, okay? Let's be really clear about that. And what happened is a personal chef business turned into a catering company, turned into 3 restaurants. And now my oldest company is a culinary medicine company called Savor. It is 21 years old this year. And 10 years ago, I started a culinary coaching and consulting company for culinary business owners who want to go from behind their stove to CEO who do not own traditional restaurants. So bakers, food truck owners, caterers, cooking class instructors, personal chefs, private chefs, runs the whole gamut. We have community all over the United States and Canada. So that is me.
Wow, incredible. Happy to have you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Amanda, you want to hop in?
Sure. As Lindsay said, I'm Amanda. I'm the cookier behind the Whimsical Cookie. I fell into this by accident. I've always baked holiday cookies for like 23 years. But in the holiday season of 2022, my son loved watching the Food Network and baking shows. I really was not familiar with royal icing. We whipped up a quick batch and I just got to put my creative brain to work. And so I started making cookies and my family could not eat all the cookies that I was making. So March last year, I stood in my kitchen and said to my husband, I think I might put my cookies out there. I said, I don't know if anybody will want cookies. And the people have spoken and they want cookies. And so I just kind of fell into it and having a great time.
Awesome. Your family sounds a little more disciplined than mine. I think I would have the eating problem for sure. And Lisa.
Hello. I am by trade a licensed professional counselor. I've been doing mental health, nonprofit mental health for over 20 years. And baking was my self-care. It was what I would say. I would tell people it was my therapy. So on the weekends or time off, I would bake, try new recipes. And when the pandemic hit, I found myself with a lot more at-home time. I was baking more. And at some point, I got laid off from my nonprofit job in mental health. And so during the holidays 2020, I was baking overtime like a lot of people do. And I was offering my baked goods to friends and family in the holidays, just selling them at cost, just for something to do. And cookies got to somebody who managed a retail store who then contacted the owner who said, you really should sell Lisa's cookies at our store. So he reached out to me and I said, okay, I'm open to trying that, but I definitely want to do it the legitimate way. I want to make sure everything's above board and legal. So I immediately went in the process of researching how to be licensed in Pennsylvania. We become licensed through the Department of Agriculture as a limited food establishment. So I jumped through all those hoops, got it figured out. So coming up on about 2 years of being licensed as a limited foods establishment, AKA Cottage Bakery. I'm doing clinical work just one day a week, and the rest of my life is cookies.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks, you all. And I forgot to mention as well, as you have questions for all of our guests, be sure to drop them in the Q&A, and we'll be getting to those later as well. Today, we're talking about how to take your business from level 1 to level 2. That, of course, means different things to different people. So I would love to hear from each of you just a little bit about your order volume. How are you fulfilling orders? Are you shipping your product? Are we only doing local? What does the day-to-day kind of look like? And how have you reached your customers?
I've been selling primarily, not exclusively, but up to this point, mostly vegan cookies, because I myself am vegan. Occasionally some cakes and cookie cakes. When I am in full speed and marketing, I am very busy. Typical orders for my customers are 12 to 2 dozen. I do drop cookies, kind of gourmet flavors, unique creative flavors is my goal. Right now I have 12 flavors. I probably did 300 to 400 orders last year, but I've also had large event orders with schools. I've done some weddings. I've done holiday events. I estimate I probably made 10,000 cookies out of my home kitchen last year. I do local delivery. One of the great things about being Pennsylvania is I can do nationwide shipping. So more than half of my customer base is all over the country, which is awesome. I continue to sell at that local retail store in my town, probably 50 to 60 cookies a month. I just drop off. Done a few community pop-ups. I mostly reach my customers through Instagram, Facebook, word of mouth. A lot of my new customers have received my cookies and then they buy them for other people. Should I talk about what my going to level 2 is going to look like, or should we wait for that? What do you think, Lindsay?
Let's pass it. We'll get to that probably next question.
That's okay. Great. Okay.
Can I go and go?
Go ahead, Deb.
Okay. Since I'm not a baker, and what Savor is being a culinary medicine company, we do personal chef services and catering. So everything is highly customized. So kind of the order volume, we have a minimum chef fee because we charge a chef fee plus groceries. Our minimum chef fee is around $300 per client that orders from us once to twice a week, on up to a chef fee of $2,000. It just depends on how big or small their service is, how many people. When we do catering, we usually don't walk out the door for less than about $1,000. I have a commercial kitchen storefront team of about 12 people or so. So my minimums have to be a little bit higher. As far as where my clients come from, I invested in a really great website many years ago. It continues to be refreshed. I have a pretty large budget for marketing that takes place every month. I have an internal marketing team and then also some external marketing people as well. I would never run a business without any sort of marketing, but a website to begin with that actually reflects the brand, the target market, and was done professionally with the right SEO.
Awesome. It's incredible. And Amanda.
So volume wise for me, it kind of depends. And I'm sure Lisa feels the same way with the holidays, really high volume. I do both custom orders as well as holiday pre-sales. So kind of has an ebb and flow. I personally do cut off my custom orders during pre-sale times so that it's just two different types of work. One's a little bit slower and more methodical and focused, and the other's like how much and how quickly can I get all this out? So that's kind of my volume. In terms of fulfillment, unfortunately, I'm in Indiana and I am not allowed to ship outside of the state of Indiana. Indiana did just allow us to start shipping in state. So I have done that some. That's an area of growth that I can focus on, but I do porch pickups at my home as well as I kind of live outside of a little bit of a bigger city. And so my children go to school in that city. So then I will also combine pickups in that bigger city.
Cool. Okay. I didn't know that about Indiana. That's a big bummer. I know we've had Matt travel down and grab a cookie or two. I might have to make the same trip since I'm in Indianapolis, but Amanda, I'll stay with you for a second. I know you've in the past worked with a baking assistant. I'm pretty curious, how did you find them? What did they do for you? How did that whole process go?
Yeah. So I've actually had a couple of people work for me. And what was the impetus for that was the holidays were coming. And I was terrified because I already knew how busy I was non-holiday. My first time that I really sold cookies was Easter, which was pretty busy, but I was brand new. And so I was really worried, I don't want to have to tell people no, but one little person can only make so many cookies. And so I first started out actually hiring a non-baking assistant. I hired a college student to come in and help me free up more time. So I looked at my business and said, what is it that other people cannot, or not other, but in general, someone else can't come in here and do? And that is putting icing on the cookie. That is the skill that I have that not tons of people have, or readily have. So I hired a college student to come in and fold my laundry for me, to cut favor tags out, to make bows. My children do attend school 30 minutes away from where I live. I had her one day a week go pick them up, bring them home. I would have her run errands, just anything that could free up more hours for me to do the thing that I'm good at doing. So, and then in November, I decided that I did want to hire someone to help bake. So I just posted on my personal Facebook page and then created a Google form, and people tagged friends of theirs that they thought would be good. And I connected with a woman that I was already kind of connected with before. We weren't friends yet on social media. And so she came in and made dough and rolled dough and cut out cookies and baked cookies. And she did tons of my packaging throughout the holidays. And both of them are getting ready to come back and help me for Valentine's Day.
That's awesome. Yeah, I really loved how they allowed you to focus on what made your cookies unique, focusing on the icing and the more creative component. I mean, I think if I get overwhelmed doing laundry, I can't imagine having tens of dozens of cookies to bake as well on top of that. So,
and I have 3 boys, so there's a lot of
laundry. Yeah. Lisa, I'd love to learn a little bit more about shipping, and we have some questions about this as well. I know you're allowed to ship, not every state does. How did you figure that out? What was that process like? To what degree has it actually expanded your reach and helped you grow?
Well, I've lived in Pennsylvania for 17 years, but I am originally from Indiana.
Oh.
So all my family's in Indiana. Lots of my friends are in Indiana. And of course, when you're first starting out a business, they're probably going to be your first customers. And so I quickly learned, yes, I can ship to my friends and family. And so it started from there, and friends and family wanted to be big supports. They'd buy my cookies and send them to somebody else, and you could ship them to anybody anywhere from me, which was really nice. So what I quickly realized is, as I mentioned before, a lot of my new customers were people who had received these cookies that I baked as a gift, and opening up a box of home-baked cookies is a pretty cool, nice gift to have. And so when they're looking to buy a gift for somebody else, they would send my cookies to somebody else and say, I got your cookies. They were so good. I want to send these to my friend for her birthday or something like that. So I quickly thought, okay, how can I take advantage of this? And I really focused my marketing on how I can fill that need for people. If you're not sure what gift to buy people, if your friend's having a bad day, if grandma's having her 94th birthday, which mine is in a couple of weeks, if there's a loss, if there's a new baby, if there's a new home, I can help you with a thoughtful gift, nice packaging. I'll include a gift note. I started making some custom stickers for different themes and really played up this buy it as a gift, and you can ship it to anybody anywhere. You don't have to worry about any of that. Just you'll get all the credit for this thoughtful gift, and I'll do all the work for you, is sort of my pitch. And that has been really helpful. One of the really important things with shipping, though, is making sure that the product arrives fresh and it arrives not busted up. And so I spent a lot of time thinking about, what is this unboxing experience going to be? How do I ensure that all this hard work I put into a product isn't going to go out the window because half of them are broken? And heat sealing was key. Lots of packaging was key. I talked to people who package valuable things for a living and figured that out. And then I also did some practice runs, sent it to people in different parts of the country. How do these look? How do they taste? Does everything look okay? I make sure I include in the packaging anything people might want to know, what flavors are involved, what the ingredients are, how you can store them, how to find me, so that people aren't scrambling to figure it out. They have all the information right in front of them. So packaging is huge. I haven't had any issue with my product being broken, short of a UPS truck running over the box, which has happened. And the customer was completely understanding that that was not my fault. I use a discount shipper. I use shippo.com. A lot of people use Pirate Ship. I can ship on average a dozen box of cookies for 4 pounds on average across the country for $10, which is pretty darn good, because I also have a bigger box to fit my smaller boxes in. So if people have specific questions related to shipping, I'm happy to answer those, because there's just so much to think about. But those are my main considerations, are thinking about your unboxing and your safety, and discount shipping. And I also always market nationwide shipping. So people know that no matter where they are, they can get my cookies.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, as someone who's been the recipient of many a Lisa Faye box from the cast iron team, can confirm that your cookies, they travel incredibly well, and the unboxing is always so pleasant and so professional too. Deb, I want to talk a little bit about your private chef services. You talked about having a marketing team, large budget, website with SEO, lots going on there. I'm curious, how did you even find your first clients? What did Square One look like? How did it feel? How did you really start to get your name out there?
I think that we forget a lot of times that there's so many free ways to market your business before you ever have the money and a budget to hire all the people. I think that we forget that word of mouth is important, but there's only so many mouths that can talk about your business. Really and truly, my first client came from, I would go to networking events, even if, and later I learned that you really have to go to a networking event where your ideal client is, not just where there are mouths to feed. So I became a little bit more savvy about my particular networking events that I went to. From there, I really understood who my target market is. I mean, down to the nitty gritty of, I could tell you the color of her hair. And from there, I really started to look at, where are these people? Do their kids go to private schools? Are they in select sports? Do they travel? So I would start to show up personally. And that's still one of my biggest marketing strategies, is to show up in person where my ideal target market is and tell them about the services. One of the best marketing strategies that I used whenever social media started was, I found a friend who was well known in my community, had lots of followers, was very influential. It was actually an attorney at the time. And I said, if I make you these meals customized to you, take me through your whole if I take you through my whole process, will then you post about this on social media? She did that because it's proof of concept. And what happened from there is one person told another person, but still showing up in person, because you're not going to find your clients behind your computer or behind your stove, is one of the best marketing strategies I've ever used.
That's incredible. I think for those who've been on most of the day today, we heard that from Brett earlier. How can we be really savvy about the events we're going to? Mouths aren't enough. You have to really target that ideal customer. Thanks so much, Deb. That's incredible. We are not super tight on time, but getting there. So I'm going to do 2 lightning round questions before we get into our Q&A. First one I have, how do you manage work-life balance? Whoever wants to go, short and sweet.
Oh, please let me go on this one.
All right.
I believe that work-life balance is not such a thing. The reason why I believe that is because it is all your life. You should build a business that supports your life and not the other way around. When you build your life first and then the business that supports that, then it all becomes your life, because you love your business as much as, well, you're not supposed to, your family and the rest of your life. It is all your life. So you must build the life you want and the business that supports it.
Does anyone want to counter that? I doubt it. Wow, wonderfully said, Deb. That's fantastic. Next question. Biggest order you've ever done? Could be number of items, number of people served, or actual amount of, well, I guess, cookies, number of cookies.
850 cookies.
850.
I don't have an exact number. I have an estimate, but it was for a holiday fair. And I just worked like 5 nights and just made. And I think it was about 1,000.
1,000 cookies.
Mine was a gala and it ended up being $65,000.
All right. And last question before we get into our Q&A, who inspires you as a business owner?
I'll tell you, mine was my grandfather. I grew up in a family-owned small business, and unfortunately he passed away this past summer, but he inspired me, just his connection that he had with his customers, his customer service. He truly cared about his customers and took care of them.
That's great.
Can I go ahead and go?
Sure.
Actually, I have 2 people that inspire me as a business owner. I told you that I own Chef Deb, which is the culinary business and consulting company. The people in my community inspire me absolutely every day. I learn more from them than they say I teach them. And lastly, it would be my team here at Chef Deb. They inspire me every day to do better.
Awesome. Lisa, anything come to mind?
I was just going to say a lot of my best and closest friends, and as well as my husband, are either own or are part of a small business. And so it's been really inspiring having worked under like a nonprofit and systems sort of organizations, big systems, to see how they've sort of run their business on their terms and lived life on their terms, and the flexibility it's provided. My father owned his own business for like 40 or 50 years. So I take a lot of inspiration for like making it your own. Yeah, that's my inspiration.
Thank you all so much. We do have a few questions. I'll try to get to as many as I can and hopefully keep answers pretty quick. We have a question from Ted. When you were starting out, did you do anything to limit the number of orders so you didn't get crushed while trying to learn how to make the business work at the same time? Or did you just leave it wide open and hope for the best?
I'll kind of answer that, since I feel like I'm still new. I've only been doing this for 10 months. I felt like it was really important to establish some boundaries, because when I was starting this, the number one thing I kept hearing were people like, oh, I did cookies for a couple of years and I got burned out. You know, there was such a demand. And I also had a friend tell me, and I thought it was really good advice. She said, you're offering a product and people will consume you. They will forget that there's a person behind that product. And so she's like, you really need to kind of guard yourself so that you aren't consumed. So I personally did set some boundaries early on. I just had to say no. You know, we're only one person. Deb has a team, but I think
yeah, but not always.
Yeah.
When I started out, I didn't feel like I needed to set it. But once I became more successful, that's when I needed to limit myself and really guard and value my time and make it clear when I was taking time off and when I was taking a break from baking. But that came later once I got an onslaught of orders.
Yeah. How do you learn what to say no to?
I mean, I've said no to things that I just don't want to create.
Actually, I have a little bit different perspective on that, because I always take it back to your brand, your overall brand and business. And what you say yes or no to affects your overall brand. I mean, and therefore your money and your future business. So if you take on a client or an order that is not on brand for you, you don't want to do, then what happens is that affects future business, because you won't do as well. You won't make the amount of money, especially if you undercharge. You're only going to attract more people that will need you to undercharge. So I make every decision around brand and then a brand boundary of how will this affect my overall brand and future business.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that perspective. Definitely maintaining the brand, keeping the boundary, and helping your customers remember too that there is a person behind it all. We know how, at least for Amanda and Lisa, how hard you both work. Deb, you as well. Like, it's often a one-person show, very isolating, and can be pretty tough. So have so much respect